Threatening to sue the United States Postal Service after Postmaster General Louis DeJoy announced controversial changes ahead of an election that is expected to rely heavily on mail-in ballots. DeJoy has since backed off those changes. Is it enough to satisfy this group of attorneys general? Joining me now to discuss what's next for that coalition is California Attorney General Javier Becerra. It's great to have you here, sir. Are these still planned, these charges?
Kelly, thanks for having me. We're moving forward. We have to believe that it's the deeds that count, not the words. The words were scary enough to begin with. Now that those words have changed a bit, it doesn't change the fact that the deeds are still outstanding. And we want to make sure that when everyone votes, their vote will count, whether it's in person or by mail.
What would the lawsuit accomplish, and when should we expect it to be filed?
Today, the lawsuit should be filed. We are joining with the state of Pennsylvania and several other states. Attorney General Josh Shapiro in Pennsylvania will be filing that lawsuit today. And what we're essentially doing is making sure that the federal government, the administration, and the Postal Service abide by the law. Postmaster General DeJoy pretty much admitted that what he was trying to do was against the law, and we just want to make sure that now he will follow the law.
Correct. So let's talk about the issue surrounding mail-in ballots for this election. This is the states saying that the USPS is dropping the ball. The USPS and other critics have said it's the states who have set the deadlines too close to Election Day. In Michigan's case, for example, you can request a ballot the Friday before the election, and we all know there's no way that ballot could be mailed to you, completed, and then mailed back in by the deadline. So should your partner states all be moving back their deadlines to both request and then return a mail-in ballot?
Kelly, let's remember first and foremost that the Constitution gives the states the prerogative, the rights on how to set the process for those elections, not the federal government. And remember, too, that the states have relied on the normal course of business that the Postal Service has operated under for decades. And so when they passed a law, for example, in California, you can submit your ballot so long as it's postmarked on Election Day. Even if it arrives a couple of weeks after that, it still will count. And so the states make accommodations, but the only entity that's making a change here unlawfully is the U.S. Postal Service. The states have acted according to the law and, by the way, according to the Constitution.
But since we're going to see so much more mail-in voting this fall than we've ever seen before, especially for a presidential election, in California's case, like you said, you can receive the ballot up to 17 days after the election and have it count. What if the country is waiting 17 days for the outcome of the presidential election?
Well, we did that in 2000, right? This is a democracy. We want to make sure every vote is counted. And so long as every valid vote has an opportunity to be counted, we can assure ourselves that the right person is taking the position. And so I think what counts is that we know that we have a process that's fair and has integrity. Everything else that is beyond the point. We want to make sure those votes are counted. And again, the states have a right to determine how they will go about that process. And the federal government should not be changing the rules of the game midstream to try to impact that. And that's why I believe Mr. DeJoy had to back away from what he did, because the plain illegality of what he was trying to do, I think, was staring him in the face.
Why, do you expect other states, though? I mean, why not move those deadlines up to request these mail-in ballots and get them returned earlier? Do you think it's unfair for some people to be sending in ballots earlier than others?
Well, there you need to talk to the legislatures and the governors in those states. I know that many states, like California, we're doing everything we can to accommodate our voters so that they can vote any number of ways, but they'll get their vote in on time. Some legislatures have made it very difficult for governors who want to accommodate voters because of COVID-19 so that they can go ahead and submit their vote by mail. But it's been difficult because in some cases, mainly Republican legislatures, for example, have been thwarting the efforts of Democratic governors, for example, to try to make it easier to get that ballot in. If you mail it, get it in on time. And so what we have to do is ensure that everyone is accommodated where possible, and you keep the process as accountable as possible.
One final question, since every California voter will now get a mail-in ballot. We moved into our house here in New Jersey 3 years ago, and I still received the mail-in ballots from the person who previously lived in them. There's nothing preventing me from filling it out and sending it in. Is that not a recipe for voter fraud?
Well, there is something that's stopping you, Kelly, from sending it in, and the fact that you don't want to go to jail, and the fact that we can all those votes are recorded. And if you're not registered in a particular state and you cast a vote, you're likely going to go to jail. And so that's what keeps us honest. And that's why there is no record of active and abundant voter fraud in this country, because we have good mechanisms to provide for accountability. Everybody moves. A lot of people move, and we take that into account. But what we don't have are records and documentation of massive fraud from people trying to vote when they shouldn't.
Yeah, there's so much about this that we haven't experienced before. That's for sure. We really appreciate you joining us today to talk about these issues and your plans.